All right, we are back live. I'm gonna try and get Dan back in a second here. Uh, see if we can get him back. That was a really annoying spot to cut it off all of a sudden. I was having a nice time, but sometimes technology has other ideas. I think I'm just gonna have to get a new microphone cord because I think that's the source. It's been getting a little more faulty little by little, and I think finally it's just coming to the end of its life. But I'm not able to just pause and reconfigure all at once on the fly. Let's see if it worked. Okay, let's see. Here comes Dan back.
Do you hear me now?
I can hear you again.
Okay.
I don't know what happened there, but it
So could
freaked
be on
out.
their side, could be on their end.
Yeah, I have been having a few problems with Restream lately, so it certainly could be that.
And after years of using the other thing,
Yeah,
can't win.
yeah,
Is there not an open source streaming platform?
yeah. OBS is open source. The free version though only streams to one source at a time. So I was
Hmm.
still using Restream to stream, do the simulcast, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Um, But we can go back to OBS if Restream as a service breaks down again. I just like it because it's so much easier to use.
It does have a nice interface.
Yeah. But anyway, let's continue on in our video.
Hmm. We left off getting to the bullshit of Amazon and how it basically bamboozled the entire grocery industry into doing self checkout lanes. The
Yeah.
fact that all of that investment and the self checkout lanes and the disruption to our fucking lives and routines was all predicated on a big lie between capitalists. And it's capitalists to sell things to other capitalists.
Isn't that crazy?
To quote a Star Trek character, "You guys lie so much you don't even trust each other."
Yeah, it is the truth.
Oh no, or rather, it's like you lie so much you don't even tell the truth to each other,
Mm-hmm.
which breaks any kind of conspiracist
No honor among thieves.
thinking.
Yeah.
Or it's like, well, it can't just be capitalists who control things because they're not really in a coordinated cabal. They're not
That's
really
true.
one. They're not one solid class. There has to be a one solitary class above all of
Uh-huh.
them. But it's like, well, if there is, yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Let's continue on.
ContraPoints covered all of that in her latest movie length video.
Oh, I've been enjoying that. I haven't gotten through the whole thing yet, but it's pretty good so far.
Yeah, it's better than the other things because I'm not watching her Twilight video or whatever else she puts
Yeah,
out.
for sure.
I did watch a short sort of critique of it, but it's not like you don't critique the whole thing. You just critique some of like the takeaways or the framing she does. There's really no, maybe there
Yeah.
is, but you could when she did like her revolution video, like you could just go like there's a it was there was a problem the whole way through. With the conspiracist video, it's more about just the way she kind of limits herself at the end. It's one of those like, you're expecting some kind of, if not solution, but like lesson or like strategy, and she doesn't provide one.
Yeah. Yeah, she'll walk you to the edge of that line, and I don't know that she has many solutions, but she is good at pointing out problems. So
It's an analysis that I sort of knew, or at
yeah,
least I hadn't really. There's plenty of conspiracist breakdown culture, conspiracist culture,
for sure.
but she kind of goes into the ideology involved a bit better. bit clearer. It's funny, she's kind of self-deprecates into like, well, I'm not really numbering. Oh, it's turning into a numbered video. Oh, I
Yeah,
promise I wouldn't do that. But it's like, yeah, but
no
you
more
kind of,
parts,
I actually do want it to be numbered. I'm trying to take good notes here, and it helps to if it's
right?
actually has numbered parts. But then she sort of stops halfway. So then I got like, oh, fucking bullshit. It's like now it's not like the rhythm is lost. Okay.
All right, let's continue on. Yeah.
Customers actually picked up and walked out with. 7 out of every 10 transactions needed to be manually verified by this remote team, meaning only 30% of the sales were actually automated. Beyond the issues of accuracy, the technology from the lens of hardware and software was not actually scalable. A single Amazon Go store required thousands of state-of-the-art cameras and fiber internet. Amazon has since quietly retreated back to conventional checkout and local human cashier for Whole Foods and for its own stores. And in the past year, they've laid off hundreds of employees from its Amazon Go teams, closed down the vast majority of its stores across the US and Europe, and ripped out the cashierless just walkout turnstiles in Whole Foods. But back in 2016, no one had any idea at the time that Jeff Bezos was just blowing smoke. It wasn't just retailers who were spooked, but also Wall Street who began demanding answers. For better or worse, Amazon had become a forcing function. They had established a standard and identified a specific area for automation that everyone else in retail needed to live up to. How would the industry leaders like Kroger, Costco, and Home Depot compete with Amazon's new, people-light, high-automation stores? Could they ever transition to make their checkout self-service just like Amazon Go? And within a year, self-checkout became priority number 1 for the entire industry.
And they didn't even have to prove that they were saving money.
Yeah, like that never came up in the end. It was just assumed because you got less labor. It must save money.
But again, like Amazon was only profitable because the merchandise was not something they had to buy.
Mhm.
Everyone
Yeah,
else
yeah.
provided
They were just
everyone else
a
provided the
distributor,
books. They
right?
were just right, the distributor, that's it.
Right.
And
But now they're the
food doesn't work that way.
yeah, yeah, no, that's for sure.
Even though a lot of tech
Perishable goods.
disruptors want to make it like that with HelloFresh and all those other meal kit bullshit,
Yeah,
which is just more and more garbage.
it's a lot of garbage. I used to deliver those all the time
Well,
when I
any
worked in delivery.
left tuber was taking them on as a sponsor is beyond me.
Yeah, I guess they
Or is
probably.
it a tick in their sellout, list?
Well, I mean, that could be, but I mean, there is the side where if that's what it takes to eat more healthy, I guess there's personal benefit, but it is a lot of garbage.
Are you
And
eating more healthy?
I mean, I've gotten like one of the boxes. Someone got it for a gift one time,
Uh,
and it was reasonably healthy stuff. I don't know if
is
they're
it
all
is it
that
a
way.
smaller? I think is it my estimate is it a smaller portion?
Yeah, they tend to be
Like
smaller
it's much
portions.
more like it's the actual portion of like a frozen dinner
Right. Yeah.
to me,
Yeah.
which is like not enough.
Sure.
But maybe I overeat too much. But again,
Um,
I ate till full.
but yeah, if I had to guess, that would be it. Or it's just it's got to do what you got to do to pay the bills, I guess. But I
All
totally
right.
get the lack, not wanting to produce trash argument as well. But yeah, let's move on.
Leaders like Walmart, Kroger, and Target, they were eager to demonstrate that they weren't actually dinosaurs waiting to be disrupted, but instead equally capable of adapting to the latest trends and creating their own proprietary technology. In return, they could maintain their valuations and grow the appeal of their stock in what was a tech-dominated
Wow,
market.
my 4
Yet
items.
retailers of all sizes
Yeah,
were under
right.
pressure to show progress towards self-checkout.
Now I
Smaller
don't need to
chains like
order
Dollar
something
General and
else
Sprouts didn't
the next day.
That's funny. It was just a drone dropping stuff in a field. Like you're gonna have to go out to a field to get your
Yeah, no,
groceries.
they were this was like that's how they were showing it off a decade ago, or a little bit
So
more than that.
funny. Like,
If you're
no,
a teen now, this is all like before you were conscious, which is just the the amazing thing of how age works. That like
hmm
people who are my niece's age, like she's 11, which means that everything before Trump was first elected is just a blur.
right.
Uh, she's barely conscious now, but like
right?
I
Yeah.
just think back to my growing up where, there was pop culture and things happening in the early 90s, and I didn't care or remember any of it.
Really?
But I'm sure to some people it was like, the most important thing ever,
Oh yeah,
or
man.
something like that.
Teenage
Well, the
Mutant Ninja
development,
Turtles, like
no,
Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, none
it's
of
a,
that stuff
it's a
registered with you.
little, well, no, a lot of the 80s stuff. I was born in 88, man. Um, I wasn't watching TV consciously until 94,
Sure.
more or less. I mean, obviously there's really kids stuff, but again, it's like I wasn't consciously watching it where I'm like, I understand it and maybe
Sure.
I'll remember it, watch it again. I mean, essentially just like Nicktoon stuff.
There
I
you
was
go.
think that was the first kind of stuff that I was like retaining what I was watching. Rugrats.
Rugrats, Ren and Stimpy, Rocco's Modern Life
Yeah, the
still
Nicktoons.
still holds up pretty well.
But again, now it's all like after 92.
That's true.
And Nirvana. So, but it's also like as a kid in the 90s, I'm just I barely I can't be conscious of anything that's pop music related except when it's exposed to me because it's at a saturation point, like the Macarena
For sure. Oh
or
god,
other
what a
such things,
horrible era that was.
or getting jiggy with it. But it's only
Oh man.
because Kids WB is working it into their promos for Pokemon, getting jiggly with it, Jigglypuff, and having the Warner Brothers do the Macarena.
It's funny. All right. Anyway, moving on. Let's do the Macarena. Oh yeah, so let's see this lady get some stuff in the field.
Yeah.
In return, they could maintain their valuations and
Funfetti.
build their stock
Yes.
in what was
It would have been
tech
so
savvy
hard to
market.
go to the
Yet
store to get
retailers
that
of all
and
sizes
butter.
were under pressure to show progress towards self-checkout. Smaller chains like Dollar General and Sprouts.
Oh yeah, that's right. The latest thing, the stupid little tip
Mm.
robots that just they carry one thing and then they can tip it to another. Where is that? Just showed it.
Checkout. Smaller
There it is.
What?
Like this is the future of warehouses. They can
Oh, right. The big grid.
yeah, the grid.
That's a lot of like, yeah. No, I was thinking like all those little robots
Uh-huh.
that are going to break down within a year, or
Uh-huh.
like how are they going to be maintained? How are they
Good question.
greased up or recharged, or like it's all the power involved with all that.
Yeah, because these are
Uh,
massive facilities too.
hmm
It's like mega warehouses.
But it was all just selling. It was all marketing.
Right, yeah,
For the
because
people
none of them
selling
have
it.
proof to that.
They would make money. Would anyone using the tech make money? Probably not.
Probably not.
It's like the vertical farming sector.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it just seems like a cool idea. There's a lot of tech and dazzling, but hard to turn a
Hey,
profit.
Amanda Joe.
Yeah.
Fun name. Dude.
That's my Amanda.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Wondering, yeah, Elon's children will maintain them. Yeah, yes, enough.
They don't seem to have any interest in that though.
No, they don't. The smart ones have already disowned him.
They're jumping.
Yep. All right, moving on.
Chains like Dollar General and Sprouts didn't have the war chest of a Walmart or a Kroger to throw millions of dollars hiring engineers and building machines. They also didn't have the incentive or the urgency to reinvent themselves in the eyes of Wall Street as some progressive, modernized corporation. They only needed to reach this bar, not exceed.
So it was really the investors that were demanding this, not the executives. The executives are simply doing what they're told by the investors. But the investors, they're supposed to be the smart ones that see where things are going. But they are
They all just follow the propaganda themselves.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
So it's but this is really frightening to people. That's if you fall into conspiracist beliefs, because that's just so much more frightening.
Yeah.
And it also disrupts any black and white, good and evil kind of thinking you have, because it's hard to hate and see as evil the investor class because they're so fucking stupid and you just think they're lame. But if anything,
Yeah.
that should just be galvanizing to action, to be for the alternative, to be a socialist.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
It's what allowed me to be comfortable with the idea.
The clock was ticking, and the industry as a whole needed to get self-checkout.
I didn't want to
up
be
and
on
running
Team
ASAP
Capitalist.
to remain competitive.
No,
They
who
would never
would?
be fully automated and entirely cashierless like Amazon. But if they could get customers to scan and bag their own groceries, if they could start removing the existing checkout aisles and start hiring less cashiers, then everyone would in theory be closer towards realizing this future. The fastest option was to outsource, and there were two companies who were eager to provide the hardware and software shovels for this faux gold rush.
After they
ATMs were
had conquered the
earliest and
voting
most
machine
successful
market.
example of retail
Right.
automation, where
Not the
customers
same
could
one, but-
self-service themselves on machines, and banks in turn could hire less tellers. In the US, there was NCR, and in Europe, there was Diebold Nixdorf. Both companies made their fortunes building and selling ATMs to banks. But there's only so many banks in the world who need ATMs, and so much innovation to be had with cash withdrawals and check deposits. By the late 90s, the ATM market had been completely saturated. As a result, growth was slow through the 2000s, and both companies desired to introduce self-service to other industries. Places like airports, car rentals, concerts, and hospitals were all opportunities where
Here's
staff
another
could be
thing about
easily
market
replaced.
economics that kind of irked me growing up, or
Mhm.
when I hit college, and I'm like
Yeah.
studying, looking at this real closely, is that when a company reaches a saturation point where they've kind of met, like, let's say, like, oh, there's an innovation, there are needs out there that people have, and companies that innovate meet these needs. I'm like, okay, well, when they fully meet the need of their customer base, can they just stop? Of course not.
No. No.
Could
Now they're
they
all
can they adjust to do something else
resource.
to fill some other need?
No.
No.
It'll take a ton of money to retool and
They have
you know
to find new
change systems.
markets. They need to
Yeah.
expand and diversify their production chains and all this other bullshit, which is like either wasteful, unnecessary, but they have to keep paying dividends. They can't
Yeah.
just
They have
say
to. They can't just stop.
we've done enough. We've met the need, but that's not what capitalism is based on.
No.
So all of
No.
those, like, well, capitalists meet needs, and they also do. No, it's all lies.
Yeah.
It's all an
It is.
after effect. It's a happy coincidence if it does happen, but if it does, it's temporary because then any company that does do something right, they have to make it worse to keep paying out dividends.
Right. They have to
Whether
make it
it's
so.
sorry,
Yeah. I was just gonna say, they have to make it so it fails at a certain point, so you got to go out and buy another one.
yeah,
Uh,
either plain obsolescence
yeah.
or they have to start charging a rent of some kind, Patreon. They have to
Yeah.
raise fees. So it's the same product that they've kept delivering, but now it's like they have to just increase prices.
Yeah. For sure.
It's the worst, and or if not the worst, it's like this is the price we pay for freedom, economic freedom, and
Ugh.
whatever It's,
Most counterfeit definition of freedom. Yeah.
exactly.
Oh man.
I love.
Mm.
Did I ever explain? Like, there's the movie The Host, and it's like the aliens have conquered Earth, and they just have stores you can just walk into. It's like it's full abundance, and this is like it's just touched on because it's a romance, it's a teen romance movie
Oh
more than
sure.
anything. But I'm just like, oh, that's fun that they had a little post scarcity in there, where
Yeah.
like the aliens aren't capitalist or they don't follow the economic ideology, so they just have the store with
The
generic
store. Yeah.
products of each kind, but you can just walk in and grab whatever you need, which is something our heroine does. And they can just go into the hospital and grab medicine and off the shelf, And
Yeah.
so I
That
think
is
that
that is a totally alien concept too.
right,
To
it's
most
part of the
Americans.
alien.
Yeah.
It's part of the alienness of the aliens.
Right. Uh,
With a machine. But NCR and Diebold were only vendors and suppliers. They could only follow the wind, and most retailers were not willing to risk the resources necessary to undertake a project of this scale. NCR settled for DVD kiosks, believing that they could fill the hole in movie rental with Blockbuster's bankruptcy, but all of that went up in the air with Netflix and streaming. Earnings fluctuated for both companies through the
Redbox.
2000s as the
Oh,
companies
man,
struggled to find
Redbox. I
growth
remember that.
beyond banking. Despite grossing billions of dollars a year, there still isn't a lot of profit in this line of work. After designing the machines, outsourcing the manufacturing, writing software, and maintaining the hardware at scale after deployment, operating margins for both NCR and Diebold were as low as the retailers themselves. The first real win came in 2012, 4 years before Amazon Go, when NCR won an initial deal with Walmart, who had the capital, incentive, and interest to pursue self-checkout. Walmart, through history, has been aggressively anti-union, and its executives were always upfront about exploring ways to cut hours, eliminate workers, and to reduce overhead.
Oh, that's such a favorite line for capitalist simps to throw in people's face is that, oh, yeah, you ask for too much wages, you're going to get replaced by a machine.
Well, they underpaid people from the get-go. But yeah.
Hmm.
Actually, yeah, a rewatch is worth it because I actually kind of glazed over, mostly because I'm watching these at work. But I didn't pay close attention to this part. Him saying that Walmart started their automation drive 2 years before Amazon Go spooked the whole industry. So
Hmm.
they were moving this direction anyway, and which is why they did the mass adoption. They adopted it much faster and more of it. But it was purely within the context of being anti-labor,
Oh, yeah.
which is also why, like ShopRite, which is unionized, and
Is it? Oh, I didn't realize
technically,
that.
and ShopRite, though a corporation, is a cooperative corporation. It is it's restructured over the years, but it started as a cooperative
I see.
in the 30s. So they didn't automate at all. The union was able somehow to basically work in the contract that they
Good
will
for
not put
them.
in self-checkout. We will retain a gaggle of teenagers that will maybe show up for their shift, but but they're going to be paid, at the negotiated wage of $10, which is more than
Mm.
minimum, but
Hmm.
still sucky.
It's still pretty terrible. Yeah.
I couldn't wait for it to go up, and it goes up $1 for every year you're there. But oh no, it wasn't $1. I think I want, or maybe it was $1. But it felt like it was like a quarter for every quarter of the year.
Ah,
So it
gotcha.
was so slow, and it goes up $1, and it was being outpaced by the raise of minimum wage in New York because of the raise the wage campaign, which only
I
brought it up
see.
to $12.50 upstate, which is woefully but it did effectively over the last 8 years um, raise the floor for wages. Now a standard starting wage at most places is 15, 16, 17, 18 for most service work.
That's still not great, but you
No.
know, a lot better than minimum, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, my housemate, his low end is 22 an hour. And that's like setting up chairs and tables at the convention center. But he
Mm,
gets 28, 29 if he's doing like the big theater venues. Um, so it's feast or famine where like is he getting enough gigs at the theaters
sure.
through the union? But again, he's working 3 days a week. And so it's just like even when it is 25 an hour or 28 an hour, it's
It's not quite enough.
no, he'll have like, $60 in his pocket at the end of the month or something.
Jeez.
And which is not enough to pay me anything.
Yeah.
It picks up in the summer, but then he's so wiped out he can't do anything else.
Mm,
And he doesn't spend his winter cleaning. Anyway, let's continue. Let me
sure.
just
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
digress about personal issues.
For sure.
But as mentioned before, the rest of the retail industry wasn't convinced that these investments were worthwhile or repeatable at a smaller scale. And all of that changed in 2016 with Amazon Go. Suddenly everyone wanted self-checkout, and it became NCR and
So
Diebold's
Amazon Go was
fastest
until
growing division.
2016.
Diebold's retail business doubled in a single year, and for NCR, that growth was channeled across multiple years as it took longer for the deals and deployments to materialize. Like any good shovel seller, both companies openly fanned the flames to drive urgency. They proclaimed that their machines were necessary to winning the next generation of shoppers, that millennials loved self-checkout, and that stores would be radically transformed in their layout. And the best part was that these self-checkout machines...
Do they have data to back that up? Like, I wonder, maybe we should look up a presentation from 2015 from these companies,
Yeah, right.
where they just say, "Oh, millennials, they expect automation like this. They want it."
They probably just found one of those headlines like millennials are killing cashiers or something like that, and just ran with
Except there
that.
wasn't any headline like that. It's we're
Well,
killing napkins. We're killing certain products. There's certain products we're not buying. That doesn't affect whether we want cashiers or not.
yeah.
Um, They're just saying it probably is a lie with no citation whatsoever.
Oh, I'm sure.
They don't have to have proof, and it's strange that the prospective clients or the investors don't ask. They don't seem to need evidence. They just sort of have, because I think they've
I
trained
just want to
themselves.
believe, I guess.
It's part of their ideology that they go with their gut feelings.
That's true, because that's one of those.
Which
That's
is
one of those things
interesting
they
because, like,
say.
they sell themselves as being the rational actors that
Yeah,
are
the
following
adults in the room.
reality.
Yeah,
But they'll also be like, well, no, we're able to follow our gut. If we're purely scientific, then we're just no better than the Soviet planners,
yeah. That's so funny because, like,
which
in
basically
economic,
didn't think it was worth the investment to create enough more of electronics industry in the Soviet.
yeah, yeah.
So and thus they were 15 years behind us
Well, that that
on that.
just proves we don't want communism because we wouldn't have the video games we have today. You know.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think
No,
the
I just hear this argument. all the
counterpoint
time,
from
so.
Hakeem and other MLs is that actually they weren't 15 years behind. I'm projecting that from like a novel, whatever.
Mhm.
But in the 80s, they were able to produce comparable computers to anything in America.
Mm.
They just weren't mass consumptive computers. There wasn't a line of, just wasn't at scale. So like they were able to technologically like keep up, but
Yeah,
not at the same scale, because that requires whole other lines of production. That's what wasn't invested in. So they
sure.
couldn't have consumer electronics industry.
Yeah. Just
Like,
for
I don't know what they had.
more important things.
I don't know if they were developing Xerox machines or anything like that. But again, it's like certain tech is a result of the corporate structure and the corporate economics involved.
Right.
Same with self-checkout. Is the CCP investing in self-checkout? Haven't heard of that.
Probably not. I bet they have bigger things to do than that, but I guess I don't know.
Well, that's
All
sort
right.
of why they're putting party functionaries in companies so that they don't veer towards, well, we have to start cutting labor costs. The party functionary, the commissar, is there to say, no, you're not cutting labor costs. We
Yeah.
want to make sure everyone's still employed.
Yeah.
We don't want our consumer economy to crash and just go towards
Right.
some stratification. That's where the socialism comes in, but
And
it's a
yeah,
very,
yeah.
it's a very low
Indeed.
level of socialism, but it's
They-
something.
It's something, and they managed to do that while having, on average, more advanced computing technology than the West. So
Yeah, it's interesting. I just saw a poll on the Discord, a Green Party Discord, of like, should we have a position on AI and crypto? Not
I'd
a good
rather
question
not.
for a poll because A, you're including two different subjects,
Right?
and
Yeah. You're
B,
splitting it.
it's a little late. I think if we were going to have a good position, we should have formed a cycle
10 years ago. Yeah.
maybe 10, but let's say a cycle ago.
Even 5. Yeah.
And it's like, the whole, well, hmm, I think most constituencies can't decide for themselves what they believe about it. Like, everyone has got the opinion, but, like, is there an actionable policy you can do? Besides, which is my answer is, like, to just have more of a generalized policy of not super specific about protecting artists from scraping,
Hmm.
not getting into the minutia, but just, like, let's just work on privacy in the internet,
Sure.
that people's information is not an extractable commodity, that they actually own it. They own their information. So there's general law, and in fact, there was a law in Congress that could have been passed, but of course, it was blocked by both parties and not passed, which would have enshrined all of these things,
Yeah.
or at least given great basic protections on the internet from all these abuses. So I think it's really more about, like, because doing that would undercut the entire tech sector and
Yeah.
all of their schemes and developments. So, which is why it's just like it's not going to happen because we're a corporate um, country,
Right.
and you can't do anything against that until
Uh,
we become a socialist country.
Indeed. Yeah.
And it can't be
I
halfway.
I was gonna say, I think the Greens could at least have a policy on the energy consumption and the water consumption that comes with AI. So that seems like a pretty easy position to take.
I think that was such a given that the conversation didn't include it. So
Mhm.
either everyone's being a boob and not including it in the discussion I was seeing. I wasn't reading the whole thing, but it was
Sure.
like 30 comments. But mostly people were just concerned with artists' rights, which
Yeah.
to me is very myopic and narrow.
Yeah.
Um, that's such a that shows like the people commenting are just online, and they're just thinking about the people they interact with online because that's what people online are ranting about, and that's
Right.
their problem with AI. It's not the energy consumption. It's not because that's not what's people are getting mad about, or to me they're being reactionary even if they're
Mm.
also Greens, but it's just an outgrowth from being online. And
Yeah. I mean, yeah, even the
I
artist part of it is like corporations steal small producers art all the time. It doesn't take AI to do that. So that's the real problem anyway. That should be tackled is corporations just taking what they want. So
and it's sort of why, like, we don't need a new position because we already
right,
have pro worker positions
exactly.
where this is just the latest form of worker exploitation. We just need we have positions against worker exploitation.
Yeah.
So it's like we already kind of got this covered. We just have to clarify that this latest 15-year trend is just the same old shit, and we're against it. Because however
Indeed.
people were exploited 40 years ago, it was also bad for the environment. It was also wasteful. It was also using
Excellent
energy,
points. Yeah,
So it's like we
that's
don't
for
need
sure.
to say anything new. There's really nothing new to say. It's only new because you're 15 and you're just noticing these
Yeah.
lines of
And
exploitation,
that's
or
what
this
people
is
are
the
talking about
exploitation
online. Yeah.
you are like you can see
You're
with your
aware
own
of.
eyes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. All right, moving on in the video. We should probably get it wrapped up soon.
Yeah. We'll just do the one.
4 hours a day, whereas a human could only work 8 hours at most. Everyone knew that NCR and Diebold would never match Amazon Go, but at the very least they were the cheapest and fastest option. But even though demand and sales grew rapidly, not even the shovel sellers were profitable. It was a fake gold rush, and both NCR and Diebold
But
actually
also, like,
lost
how is
money every year.
self-checkout supposed to be a competitive, like, option with what the promise of Amazon Go, where people just walk in and out?
I guess
Like,
just the
self-checkout isn't
supposed to be
faster, it's
super.
not less labor for the person, for the customer.
Yeah, like the only way that it is faster is that you don't have to pick a line and then stick with it, but they could just do cashier like regular cashiers that way too, where like the next person up goes to the next open cashier instead of having to pick a line to go in.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that would okay. This is a problem in supermarket design
Exactly. Yeah,
where
that's what I'm
there
trying to say.
should be an actual delineated space,
Uh-huh.
which retailers do. Like a lot of retailers will have a like think about Barnes and
The
Noble,
labyrinthine
Starbucks,
thing. Yeah,
where
yeah, yeah.
there's a queue.
Yeah, yeah.
Just have a queue like that,
Yeah,
and then
right?
it ends going to all the cashiers.
And that would be that
But
would
that takes space. That's floor space that
indeed. Indeed.
no supermarket wants to actually delineate. I would like make it more like a yeah. I mean, maybe that's something I could try sketching, but
Like,
essentially, the
you
thing you do is you just have enough cashiers where it's like you don't need any line. People,
right.
you just have 3 carts in front of each cashier, and that can
That's right.
handle your max capacity for the store. But
Yeah, for
that
sure.
requires that's why supermarkets will literally have a row of 10 10 cashier lanes,
Mhm.
but only 3 will be active at a
Only 3
time.
will be up, yeah.
But that's just like it's usual capacity and max capacity for the store.
Right.
The holiday rush, that's when all 10 will be open.
For sure.
But it's really inefficient that but then you're using a lot of space for cashier aisles that are never used or only used a few times a year.
That's true. And if you had
That's
one of
wasteful.
those when you have if you instead had one of those queues, most of the retailers that actually do that will put all the impulse items just along those queues so that you're still seeing all the same products. It's just they're not broken up into each we're getting way too far into the
But
weeds, I think,
that's
but
where you get those like the cool supermarket idea where it's just like one track and you're moving along. I mean, you don't it's not a free for all
oh, yeah, yeah.
where it's free movement like a car-based city,
Just
but
push
it's
you along,
actually
yeah.
just one track. You don't have
One
to be
way.
on the track, but simply there's one path with all the items and you have
Yeah,
to go
yeah.
past all the items to reach the end of the
In order
store.
to see it, yeah.
Um
Kinda like how IKEA does it.
Aldi's the worst because they will only have 1 or 2 cashiers open, and their
Oh, yeah, they're getting
cashiers are
blitzed
just
all the time.
facing their 2 aisles, so, like, one of the aisles will just be the line.
Yeah, yeah.
6 people
It's
long.
their super efficient use of space that ends up being inefficient because of that.
Because there's no extra space for
Right,
people.
yeah, they got no extra space for long lines. But, yeah, at least
But
those
sometimes it's
cashiers
just
get
like
to sit down.
as someone who worked for a grocery store, I'm like, "Can we please direct people to bend bend
Right,
along the
and the
line of
line, yeah,
cashiers instead of going straight out. Because like, people seem to have this instinct that a line just needs to be vertically, like, in one direction, and
right,
they never crank the line like how a queue works, right? You've been
right.
to a amusement park
Music part, yeah,
or anything or any a retail establishment, you see the lines crank so that they can take up less space, and so people
right,
can still pass through the front of the store.
right, yeah.
I think there was a few
Just
times
does not spontaneously happen,
I
yeah.
really did have to tell people as I was working there, like, "Hey, can you please shift over so
Uh-huh,
people can pass? Because I can't pass through. I have to get through."
it's funny. Yeah, alright,
Uh,
let's finish it up.
Year as they burned millions of dollars into R&D and sales, believing that this short-term investment would have long-term returns. They never imagined that Amazon and the industry would do such a massive U-turn, and that retailers would now go so far as to rip out their deployments with the sunk costs. The other issue is that NCR and Diebold's machines were always designed as a one-size-fit-all solution. They were ultimately chasing a future that had not been
Now I'm not
proven.
really seeing
Thus,
that in
while the
practice. I'd like to see him use a graph of like the number of. I guess he's just going off of their sales numbers. So
Yeah,
like, but slowed down sales doesn't mean removal of them, does it?
not necessarily, I
I'm not
guess.
seeing. I haven't seen any removals in my area. Um,
Yeah, I can't say that I've noticed that change either. It's like all the Targets still have them. Like the big grocery stores still rely on them
have
a
them.
lot.
Yeah,
So
yeah. They're just
yeah,
stuck with them until they break. I guess they have to break completely, and then
maybe that's it.
they
Maybe then
won't
they'll go
replace
back
them.
to the old system. Hard to say.
Another 5 years.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah.
Machines excelled at replacing simple, sequential workflows like checking into a flight or printing a boarding pass at the airport. Self-checkout was a beast of its own. Every retailer has hundreds, if not thousands, of different SKUs that change regularly, along with their own systems, programs, catalogs, and policies. These machines needed to be able to follow all of these things and to be updated whenever these items changed. But given the rapid speed at which retailers adopted,
vegetables.
purchased, and rolled out these machines, it
yeah.
was all trial by fire.
That's
I
always
think
hard.
whoever
NCR and
designed
Diebold
these
needed
has never eaten a vegetable before or something, and
Yeah.
and
The
misunderstands that like
least intuitive way to look them
they're
up. Yeah.
they're not all going to have barcode stickers, and of course the barcode stickers aren't real barcodes. They're just the 4-digit number.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so you have to put in the code for the vegetable if it has the sticker, which I
Yeah.
don't really want those stickers to be on every
I
goddamn
don't need
piece
more
of
stickers
produce.
on my fruit. Yeah.
It's not going to be on lettuce, certainly. So,
Mhm.
you can, I mean, as a cashier, I can memorize a good number. I know that bananas are 4411, but
Right.
and
But
then
if you do
organic,
then
but
again, if you're doing the self-checkout and you have bananas that are organic, but they look exactly the same as the conventional ones, maybe you just pick the first banana button that you find and don't even pay the right price for it.
well, I've never done that, but again, because I've
I've
been a
done that before.
cashier, so I sort of know the subtleties.
Uh-huh.
But it is annoying how much like it's the scanning goes to a standstill
Yeah,
when I get to my produce.
for sure.
So it's almost like I'm disincentivized to get more produce
That's a good point.
if I
Yeah.
have to go through self checkout, which is
Right.
why it's like I
'Cause it
go
way
when
slows it
it's a
down.
cashier because they will have the codes
They
memorized.
got it in their head,
They'll
just boom,
be
boom,
able to
boom.
type it
Yeah,
in. It will go much faster because
for
I know
sure.
this as a cashier. I was able to zip through for various produce than other people who would just be like, "Duh, what's the code on this? What kind
Yeah.
of vegetable is
Yeah,
this?"
yeah.
Now, of course, there are a lot of cashiers that are like don't seem to know the product well. They was like, is this what kind of pepper is this? The poblano. There's only 4 types of peppers in the store, and
Right.
it's on your list. God damn it! Like, come on,
That's funny.
poblanos.
Poblanos is not that hard to remember. Get with it, guys.
to provide even greater support, maintenance, and services post-sale, all of which chewed into their profits. Revenue has regressed as their customers have generally churned or opted to maintain their installations instead of expanding, and their stocks have fallen as both companies find themselves in the same situation today that they were in 10 years ago and 20
Okay,
years ago,
but it's
looking
been
for
steady the
growth.
last 3 years. So, like, he'll use these charts saying, like, there's a decline or it's like their profits are down. But it's like or it just stabilized after the pandemic.
Yeah, well, I
They're
mean,
still making 4 billion a year, you know?
it
Well,
looks
that's
like
revenue. That's revenue, not
that's
profit.
revenue, but it looks like
But it
Diebold's
means their
revenue
business
has
is
been
still happening though. The business is steady.
but
So
yeah,
the
like,
fact that they haven't gone bankrupt, that I guess that means that 4 billion revenue is enough. But yeah, he's
yeah,
not showing a profits chart.
he's
So he
definitely not
doesn't
showing the profits chart, so that there is that too, but, like, yes, NCR's, revenue has almost halved, but
yeah.
Diebold's been fairly I mean, that's a pretty steady sort of, business cycle, I would say,
So I'll throw this out here. I don't see a citation for his charts.
for
And
sure.
he's also very selective about what kinds of data he shows in his charts. Um, like
Yeah.
he puts them up pretty fast. Some, I mean, they're up a half minute.
Yeah,
And that's
it's
long
hard to
enough.
process all that data
That's long
in just a
enough.
few
But like
seconds.
you need sometimes you need the charts to be next to each other. You need multiple charts.
Yeah.
Which is what like my office does with Tableau. That like we can put multiple types of information up at once because you do need to see certain things next to each other. Or you have like he's just doing like a color bar of 2 companies, right?
Yeah,
And so like you could just combine the 2 and say like here's the annual revenue for the companies that are in the business,
for sure.
and then you with your second bar you show their profits.
Right.
Then you can compare revenues with profits.
That would be useful. Oh, well.
Beyond ATMs. Walmart was the earliest and the most aggressive, having invested in self-checkout technology long before Amazon. Without any unions to slow them down, they were the most capable and ruthless of all retailers. In 2017, the same year in which Amazon purchased Whole Foods, Walmart had completed rolling out self-checkout in every store. Their goal was to eliminate workers entirely, and there was no gaslighting about a better customer experience. Quote, self-checkout at the front changes the labor model dramatically.
They didn't even lie about,
our focus.
oh, it's for the customers.
They didn't even bother with that old line.
Fuck you. We have low prices. That's our service.
Low prices, damn it.
That's why
You're going to keep
coming.
coming because we're going to be the lowest price.
Even
you
the
like it or
most
not.
community activists still goes to Walmart to buy their community event supplies. Breaks my heart.
Yeah, I don't shop at Walmart, but I do use Target, so it's not like it's that much better.
This is really on changing the work. When you change the work, you can create leverage inside the profit and loss versus us just cutting hours because that's a short-term play. But when we look at the hard numbers, it's not clear at all that the removal of human cashiers has netted any meaningful benefits to Walmart's fundamentals. When we look at the average number of hourly employees per store, there was a brief period after the standardization of self-checkout where the company did hire less workers. But these days, Walmart is actually hiring just as many people per store as it was before self-checkout. And that's strange because there's
That is
actually
weird.
fewer Walmart
Just average
stores.
10 people less.
Yeah,
Which I suppose that I guess
over
10
all the
people per
stores.
checkout, but
yeah, 10 people less
would
on
be your
average across all the
cashier's
stores. Yeah, for sure. You probably
It's
have
not a
more
lot.
than 10 cashiers, but
it's
'cause
10
you
out
still
of
need
200.
some people monitoring those self-checkouts
Yeah.
because they break down all the time. So I guess you're not getting rid of all your cashiers, but
Well, I know I see the person there as making sure people are just actually scanning items.
right.
It's the only reason I don't go into Walmart and just do a bunch of pretend to scan.
Yeah.
Um,
Beep. Get to learn to
No. I would
beep just at the same pitch.
have the sound effect on my phone.
Yeah,
and then
that's
I would
smart.
have-
Yeah, and
I would
press a
have
little
a
button.
button to play it. Like I would,
Yeah,
or I
yeah,
have it in
yeah.
my pocket, and I go beep beep beep.
That would be the way to do it, yeah. Probably do that even with those people standing there. It's not like they're paying attention. All right, finishing up.
These days than there were a decade ago. If you're only keeping your highest performing, most productive stores, on paper you should be hiring
Well, their
less
labor
people
costs
to
certainly haven't
operate these
changed.
assets that you know
Yeah.
very well.
So-
When we isolate labor
It's
costs
funny.
and we look at SG&A as a
All that
percentage of
union
revenue,
busting.
we actually find that Walmart is
Uh-huh.
spending even more than before on labor and administration.
Well, I mean, it
Even if
keeps
they're
it
not
at that
hiring
level.
more hourly workers
It would
than
be
before,
higher
They're
if-
spending more dollars on support, services, and machines from NCR and greater corporate headcount.
Look at
And
that
since we know
fucking
that
guy with the bow
NCR
tie.
itself as a company is not in a healthy position, the idea that the cost of self-checkout will simply flatten out over time in the near future seems foolish. NCR has to make its own money, just like Walmart, and if they remain stagnant too long commercially, they'll eventually come to demand higher prices. Profit margins for Walmart have actually decreased after the standardization of self-checkout in
Interesting.
2017. While inflation is one potential explanation for the lower profits, the numbers don't really suggest that, as the cost of sales as a percentage of revenue has grown slower than the cost of labor and administration. Even if Walmart is not hiring more cashiers specifically, the point remains in that the overhead is higher than ever, despite running fewer stores and without unions. Just in the past year, Walmart has ripped out self-checkout in select stores, returned to the conventional aisles and human cashiers, divested many of the tech ventures that had started to better compete with Amazon on the side, and cited the need to return to basic, human-friendly service to grow profits. Besides Walmart, we can also look at other big grocery chains like Kroger and Albertsons. The difference is that Kroger and Albertsons workers are unionized and thus enjoy stronger protections, better benefits, and higher wages than those working at Walmart. While Walmart publicly talked about their desires to cut workers outright, Kroger and Albertsons could not because they had to maintain a positive relationship with their unions. Instead, they talked up self-checkout as a way to improve customer experience. And Kroger, like Walmart, wanted to
So
show
they
that
did
Wall
them
Street
anyway,
could-
right? The unions didn't slow it down. The unions didn't oppose it apparently,
Yeah.
or they couldn't.
Couldn't hold it back forever.
So
yeah, I guess.
the only difference is they had to lie about it being for customer experience.
For sure. Yeah.
Isn't that great? That's what
Mhm.
unions get you. Commercial unions. It just the capitalists just have to lie more.
That's true.
I'm so
I mean, those
glad.
people are still getting better wages at the
This-
union store, so there's
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But
there's that. I'm not saying there's nothing to it, but
Right.
I'm saying it's not a road to socialism.
Yeah, not unless the unions eventually take over the industries that they represent. So
No.
yeah, doesn't
Uh,
seem too likely.
no, because when the capitalist economy crashes, it just allows for more consolidation, right? For
Yeah.
the assets to be scooped up
Oh, the
by
super wealthy
BlackRock.
that yeah, then go profiteer
They
off it.
don't it doesn't make things available for workers to buy it. So the next
Right.
recession doesn't make like the housing market. If the housing market crashes again, it's like it didn't lead to more mass homeownership.
No, the
It led to
opposite.
the opposite.
Yeah.
And so in the next crash, it will have the same result or just even more intense. Um, this
Exactly.
is why,
Yeah.
being black pilled and just waiting for things to get bad is no strategy at all.
Yeah.
You
No
have to
no
organize.
accelerationism
You
from
have to
you.
be well, only if you're already organized.
Okay.
Then you can take advantage of crisis, but we're not. And it annoys me whenever whenever he encounters the Democrats being weak, not a party for workers, it's just going, oh, or that the base of the Democrats are actually conservative and right wing. It's
Mhm.
like, oh, and don't want to oppose Trump. Oh, we're so cooked. We're so cooked. We're doomed. Fuck you, man. He's so annoying.
I hear that.
But
Yeah.
he's annoying when he's like that, but
Right.
whatever. He has his annoying hours. He has his hours where he's on point. But
Yeah, he's definitely optimistic a lot of the
he,
time
he, he
too.
was arguing with like people like doing some call outs where like because he's being a soak, um interviewing AOC and Bernie and going to a rally and having time of his life.
Mm,
And him and other bread tumors also talk up like the Bernie rallies. But it's like the Bernie himself is saying this is about getting the Democrats to win the midterms and keeping people in the Democrats.
for sure.
Because like, oh, well, then we're totally doomed if they don't retain, if they don't bring millennials back in. But I'm also wondering, the people going to the Bernie rallies, are they baby leftist millennials, or are they actually just like the
I'm sure some of
progressives?
them are.
Some of them are, but like, what are the
Yeah.
demographics there? Like, how many of them are just the progressives who are just mad that we haven't had 20 years of incrementalism?
Yeah.
Or that, like, well, we've had incrementalism when the Democrats didn't have Republican opposition, which is never. But it's like, there was this
Oh,
post I saw where, and we're wrapping up, right?
yeah, we
But
do gotta wrap it up.
it
Yeah.
was sort of like stuck in West Wing thinking, where like we have to be radical now, like raising the wage to 25 only seems radical because we should have been raising it incrementally over the last 30 years. But the Republicans
Well, we
stopped us
weren't.
doing that, so now we have to be radical.
That's so silly though. It ignores all the times that that the Dems have had super majorities or
Progressives are just
just had really
aggrieved
good
incrementalists.
right.
And when I figured that out in 2010, 2012, that's when my days as a Democrat were numbered. Even the left wing of the Democrats, and that
Yep.
includes the Democratic Socialists. Sorry, DSA.
Yeah.
I just got my I'll end this with sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but it was a review of membership cards. I got my membership card from the DSA, and I am
Mhm.
fully underwhelmed with it. It's half the weight of the card that I got from the SP or the IWW.
Oh, the card itself.
It has less information on it. It just has my name in the middle, and it has DSA on the back with the website and a tagline of like a better world is possible, which
Mm,
is a way weak motto.
so weak.
I mean, it was a strong motto in Occupy, I guess, but we're approaching 20 years. I don't
Yeah. 15 years
anyway.
now.
So, but like, there's no identifying number on it. There's no like Dan Platt, member of DSA. It just has my name and DSA on it. Nothing else. It doesn't have the date I joined. It doesn't have like any other like cool information on it or something. It's just and it's light. It's the weight of the copy card in my wallet for the library.
Man, that's sad. They can't even have the Paul Allen of the left wing movement's business cards.
Now, in defense, on the other hand, the Green Party doesn't issue membership cards at all. But we've only started developing supporting memberships. We've been being an okay. Well, actually, here's the other hand. Being an actual legal political party means that we don't have a membership. DSA has a membership, but this precludes them from being a party. Green Party actually wants to be actually more like the DSA, but also an independent political party. We want to be actually both, not just one or the other. And so that means having a membership.
It's a great idea, yeah.
That is dues based. So you pay dues, you are a member, and then we'll be able to issue cards properly, like the IWW does, or SP even. And members will then be represented by the state committee, not based on number of registered, because those can be anybody.
Sure.
And it's also playing by the rules of the status quo. And it's also like we're shifting this way in New York because we don't foresee us getting ballot status in the future for the long term. So it's like, well, we're not going to play that game anymore. We're not being allowed to. So we definitely need to shift more into that renegade, iconoclastic organizing mode of being a dues-based membership party like the DSA, but we actually run candidates for office independently, which is what I'm doing. So, do I have a few more minutes for that video? We pretty much got to the end of it.
Yeah, we only had like
the guy's got. We could watch more of this guy's content. He's got a lot of cool videos. I was particularly both annoyed, but sort of like another similar vein is the disruption to transit of the electric scooters.
Yeah, sure.
Which were so like I was kind of confused why I kept seeing the memes and the videos of people just like abusing the shit out of these things and treating it like it was garbage, like literally actively destroying them,
throwing them in the river.
Yeah, I'm like, why are they like? Obviously, this is real Beavis and Butthead kind of behavior to me, but I didn't quite understand any of the motivation, unless it's just Beavis and Butthead destruction for the sake of it.
I'm sure there's some of that for sure.
I guess it's because they weren't. The fact that they were just drop shipped and not attached to anything,
right?
So you could abuse
everywhere.
But yeah, they were super cheap, so they weren't like a heavy. Like they were light. You could move them around at will, and all of those companies went bust within 4 years, I guess. They evolved a little bit. They actually they started designing their own scooters that were not the cheap, a little bit more expensive, but this also made the business model untenable. Because I didn't realize also just how cheap the rides were. I didn't realize because we didn't get any of that in New York. So
really,
I'm not aware. There's definitely more in California and Texas and yeah. Did you have those? Some of those?
Oh, we still have them all over the place. Yeah,
we didn't get any of them in Albany. I guess that's one of those final points of being such a conservative city is that like we don't want anything new in, so we don't get the bullshit half the time. And it also slows down the development of scam / 15-year business cycle projects like
for sure
a convention center, which was paired. We got one eventually, but it's pared down, so it actually does have business regularly. And the new trend, or rather the trend we're following, is the publicly subsidized sports arena. Not arena, but facility.
Yeah,
in this case, a soccer stadium.
For sure.
And that's where
we get those all the time.
We're apparently going to fill the parking lot Crater District downtown with that, and that's what's in the works.
So bad for investments. What sport is it going to be?
Soccer.
Soccer. So at least there's more games. We spend so much
Well,
money on our U.S. Bank football stadium. It's
from what I could,
ridiculous.
from what I was reading, it didn't sound like it would be that frequent,
Really?
and that's sort of what made me like wary. But not just that, but just like this is dumb. Like
Yeah.
it was a big deal. The Joe, so in a little New York history, the Speaker of the House when it was controlled by Republicans was this guy Joe Bruno, corrupt of the corrupt, super scumbag guy, but from Rensselaer County across the river from us. So he gets his like vanity project was building a baseball stadium adjacent to the regional community college, and it's called the Joe Bruno Stadium. Of course, he named it after himself.
Yeah.
Um,
How modest.
and it's basically just hosting the regional baseball team, the Alley Cats, or Valley Cats. Sorry, Valley Cats.
Valley Cats.
And I don't know if there are any other teams there. I mean, I've only been to that stadium twice in my life, and because I'm just not a baseball fan, and it's across the river.
Sure.
But like, it's got a shitload of parking. See, it's in a suburban area. It's far from any urban center, as the community college is. It's a city, and it's a small town unto itself. It's a very large community college campus. Yeah. So it just reminds me of the Joe Bruno Stadium.
Sure.
And maybe this will be the Kathy Sheehan Stadium. But but it's also right next to the parking lot crater. The last surviving building of the parking lot crater is this old Dutch house that is it's taking $2 million to preserve / restore it. But it was built, and some of the parts of it go back to 1728.
Ooh.
Yes. And I got a peek, and it's not a peek because they do regular showings on Fridays. But I finally got in there a month ago and saw the roof. The original roof. The roof is original. And so are parts of the brickwork and the sides and stuff. It's all very cool.
That does sound cool. All right. I think we're going to have to wrap it up at this point. Yeah, anything else you wanted to shout out or give people a heads up
bank
for?
account is open, though it's not accessible until the website's done. There's a donation page. Oh god, the goal is that that's up in a week or so because I have my kickoff party. I want to be able to take donations sooner than later.
Yeah, for sure. Get on that.
But I guess I shouldn't be too upset if it doesn't happen till the end of the month, and then I start fundraising once it's clear that I'm going to reach the petition threshold, which is only 52. So I'm not really that worried about it. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't stress out about it. But
yeah,
I know there's like 20 signatures that I can pretty much gather within a week or so. And but who knows? It's the hood, so door knocking doesn't guarantee a lot of engagement.
For sure.
But hey, if my competitor Davis, he just said how many he got, so 200, I think.
Okay, so people are out there.
Yeah, so it's encouraging. At least he shared that. Usually candidates don't.
Yeah.
He's not your standard careerist guy, so that's sort of why it's interesting that I'll speak more about it if we do another stream, maybe after petitioning. Feel comfortable doing this again. Otherwise, but check out it will be Dan Platt. Sorry, no, it will be peopleforplatt.com.
Peopleforplatt.com.
So you can blast that. I'll message you if it's not that, but I believe I asked for it to be People for Platt.
I will look up that.
And the only reason I'm not going to have a Venmo for the campaign, though I suppose you could personally Venmo me and then I simply move the money. But I need to record your profession and certain information for campaign reporting purposes. So there's very particular fundraising. Like it's hard to just accept someone's money. You have to record it. But I should be able to accept cash. But most people do checks, even if they're small. But most people don't deal with checks anymore. I don't care for them too.
I don't even know where my checks
Um,
are.
They cost money. They have to pay $100 to use them. Jesus Christ. For just
Right?
a few pages of them. It was anyway. So what else? But anyway, on Facebook, it's Dan Platt for Third Ward, and TikTok. Find me on TikTok. It's I think at Dan Platt. I keep thinking it's my tag name is Albany Eco Socialist, but that's just the username. The channel name will be at Dan Platt, I think.
Okay.
It's actually just my name. I think I was surprised that I was able to make my profile main name my actual name. I'm always kind of surprised by that. Like people kind of go overboard with their emails, like, oh, it's numbers, it's this, it's that. Yeah, just Dan Platt, Plaat. Where I have been reading the Green Party national platform bit by bit. I'm currently in the immigration issues section. So I'm making good progress. Actually, I'm in the second part of the platform, which is social justice, and I'm working my way through the civil rights section. So I finished the women's rights stuff, and so now it's immigration rights, and I get some good engagement, like 120 views for each video.
That's not bad.
I got 200 on the last one.
Nice.
185, 130. It depends. If I put hashtag politics, I'll probably go above 150, but not. It's strange that adding a hashtag that's in the millions doesn't actually boost my view count that much. But it does usually. There is a significant, like there's a 50 view difference. And sometimes I'll get some chode comments,
Mm.
which I can delete though. I like TikTok. You can delete comments.
Yeah.
So
Keeps the trolls away for sure.
it really does. Though there's usually someone different each time.
Yeah.
Saying the same thing about like your wife must not fuck you.
Oh, yeah.
It's just funny.
It's always the same. It's whatever they can say to get a rise. Yeah.
That's less of an insult. You think I'm married? Cool.
That's funny. All right. Well, that is good. We'll look forward to that being up and running. Share the
Yep.
details when it's out.
And stay iconoclastic.
Stay iconoclastic. All right.
Later.
All right. Well, yep. Thanks for joining me. And yeah, see you next time. Couple weeks.
Bye bye.
See ya. All right, y'all. That's going to be it for me tonight. Thanks for joining. Thanks for chiming in. Planning on streaming tomorrow night. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. If I do, it'll probably be more of the SJ Witcher stuff. I'm gonna have to go back and see how well my audio did across this stream because I have a feeling that it was pretty intermittent. But I think I have a backup cord somewhere that has the same fitting, so hopefully I can get that fixed by tomorrow night. But either way, have a good night, everybody. See